Hi everybody, this is Bob from Bob's O-Gauge Trains. A little bit different of an opening than usual. I am down in the layout room and I've set up a table actually in front of the layout. Towards the end we'll run some trains because that's what this channel is about, running trains. But a while ago I did take a poll on my YouTube channel and I asked what you guys would like to see more of. And I gave three options: YouTube shorts, product reviews, and tutorials. Well, product reviews came in second, tutorials came in first, and YouTube Shorts came in third. So I'm going to do all three to try and please as many people as I can and make it an enjoyable channel for everybody. But I'm going to concentrate and focus on what you guys want to see most. We did the Menards Bridge review. We're going to do some track work and scenery on this. And there'll be other things coming up. And the YouTube Shorts is already on my channel. So if you haven't seen it yet, please visit my channel and check out the YouTube Shorts. Every once in a while I do put one up. I try to get one up once a week. I have a regular video that I put up and a YouTube Short, so you guys get 2 videos a week. But tonight's video is going to be a little bit different. We're in front of the layout. And I thought I had a sheet of plywood, but, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. So we're going to make a little diorama. I'm going to show how I did some scenery work on my layout. Everybody does it different. There is no right or wrong way to do scenery. Honestly, I've changed the way I do things several times since I originally put the layout up. So, you know, you do what you like and, you know, what looks good. If it doesn't look good, you try something else. If it does look good, you keep with a good thing. So there is really no right or wrong way. I've seen different techniques and they all look good. That's what's good about this hobby. Like with track, I know people that use Gargraves. Like myself, I have Gargraves on my layout with Ross switches. I know some folks that use the Lionel Fast Track, and I also know some folks that use tubular track, and you know what? We all make it look good. It's personal preference and what you think you like best. There is no right or wrong way. That's what's great about this hobby. There's a lot of flexibility and a lot of different ways to do things. So I actually got 2 ceiling tiles that are 2 foot by 2 foot. So we have a 2 foot by 4 foot piece that I have set up on a table. And what I'm going to show you is how I made a couple rock molds using Woodland Scenics. There's a couple different companies out there, Scenic Express, Woodland Scenics, and others. You know, you look around, check eBay, go to their individual websites if you see something you like, because honestly, I've bought things from all of them. But today what we're going to focus on is how I painted the sides of the rails of Gargraves track. It comes with the inner rail black and the outer 2 rails are silver. You could of course leave it that way or do what I did, and I painted it what's called a rail brown. It kind of looks like a little rustish, like a real track, but it's what you want to do. So for today's video, we're going to put some cork roadbed down. We're going to paint the track and set the track on top. And we're going to do a little scenery work, add a rock formation. I have some trees, a fence. Over here I have some sunflowers, I have some deer. It's going to be basic, but you know, when you add your buildings and do whatever you like on your layout, that's cool. I mean, we all do it different and it all looks good. So sit back and enjoy. We're going to start everything up, and I hope you like what we're going to do today. Okay, so here we go. The first thing we're going to do is attempt to make a rock formation. Hopefully the finished product ends up looking something similar to this, but we're going to do this first only so it has enough time to dry before the end of the video. It won't be fully dry, but hopefully keep your fingers crossed it'll be dry enough to work with. So what I use is Woodland Scenics. It's called Hydrocal Plaster. You can get it at any hobby shop. They also have it online. They probably have it on eBay. All I do is mix it in an old bowl, something you're not going to use to eat again because, you know, it does leave some residue, and I don't know if you want to eat ice cream in the same bowl that you just kind of made a rock formation with plaster. So you pour a bunch of this in. Now what you want to do is you want to make it a texture kind of similar to like a thick oatmeal. So what I did was I put some of the Hydrocal right in here. Add some hot water and a very old spoon that obviously we're going to use for hobbies only. And you just kind of give it a swoosh around and mix and mix and mix until you get the right consistency. Like I said, we're looking for something kind of similar to a thick oatmeal. It just kind of works a little bit better as far as curing and drying. You know, a little bit more powder. I think that should work. Yep, I think we're just about where we need to be. Now, since this is like Hydrocal plaster, you got to kind of work it fairly quickly because it does sit, you know, set up fairly quickly if you don't, you know, work with it right away. You can't make it and leave it sit in a bowl for 10 or 15 minutes. This is a rock mold that I picked up from my local hobby shop. Now, what I want to do is somehow lift this side up so it's kind of sort of even. Okay, we used a bottle of JT's Mega Steam to kind of prop up one end, so this is kind of sort of level. So all you do is you just kind of pour your plaster into the rock mold. Make sure you fill it all up all the way, so you don't have, you know, any crevices, you know, like the English muffins, nooks and crannies. So you just want to kind of make sure you kind of fill it all up so it kind of goes right. We made a pretty good guess on how much of this stuff we're going to need. It looks like we're going to be okay. Just kind of... Now, sometimes when this sits, there's a little bit of a hill on the bottom of it. You could just kind of sand it down, make it kind of level. Or you can scenic around it, whatever you want to do, in order to, you know, have it look right when you take it out and set it on your layout. So I think we are good. So for now, we're going to leave it. What we're going to do now is we're going to work with some cork roadbed. You could either get foam or cork. I prefer cork. It's easier for me to work with, but like I said, you could do whatever you want to do. The foam roadbed comes in one piece, and when you try and bend it, as far as going around turns, sometimes it's a little difficult to work with. And with foam, when you kind of bend it, it kind of bubbles up a little bit. This is a little heavier, and it does not bubble up. It comes looking like this, and you might say, well, the ends are square, and I never knew why they did that either, but what you do is you pull it apart right down the middle, like that. And the reason for that is on each side, right along here, you have the angle, which is on the outside of the rail. And you kind of flip one end around. So this way, you have the angle where the ballast angles off of the track into the ground over here, and you have another angle over here. Now, what I do is I usually nail this down. You could also use a heavy-duty stapler, whatever you works best for you. If you're working on a straight, you can use glue, like a spray glue or a spray adhesive, but on turns, I would recommend either using, they have what's called track nails, and nail it down, or a heavy-duty stapler, because when you go to bend it, it's pretty flexible. When you're making a curve, you have to bend each piece separately. So you go a little at a time, like this, and you can make a curve, but the only problem is you have to hold it down. See, so you can curve it, but you have to hold it down and nail it every once in a while to keep it firm. So that's why I definitely recommend nails, screws, whatever you have, whatever works, or a heavy-duty staple gun. Just make sure the staple goes all the way down, because you don't want dips and bubbles in your track. So for this, we're going to be doing a straight piece. So all I'm going to do is get a bottle of spray adhesive where we're going to lay the track. And actually what I can do is just simply flip it upside down and spray it on the bottom. So that's what we're going to do now. I mean, you don't want to make a mess, but you want a good amount of glue so it does hold steady where you want it to do. Now, this is only for straights. Like I said, I do not recommend doing this on curves, because you're going to have to sit there and hold it until the glue cures. Whereas if you use a stapler or track nails or spikes or anything like that, you can basically nail it and you're ready to go. So we have enough glue there. We're going to flip it around, flip this one around. And we're just going to put our piece of track on top to see how they match up and make sure that it's straight and kind of looks good. Okay, we're looking good there, so we're just going to hold it for a minute to just let the spray glue the piece of cork onto the tabletop. In this case, will be your train table. Should be, yep, good enough. So you could, it's personal taste. I use Gargraves. You could use tubular, you can use Lionel track, you can use whatever you want. And you could leave the sides tin plate like this, or you can paint them. Now, what I do is I paint my rails. And once again, you pick whatever color you want. It doesn't really matter. I use something called Rail Brown. It's made by Floquil. This is sitting up good enough that we can kind of move it out of the way, so we can let our rock dry and move our smoke. Now, you could use a paintbrush. There's a number of different ways that you can actually put the paint on the side of the rails. I, believe it or not, use cheap Q-tips. Use a Q-tip that does not have a really big tip on the end, a big wad of cotton, because all you have to do is get your track, dip your Q-tip into the paint, and it's very simple. You just go up and down the track just like that. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it looks good. I think so. Now, for time's sake, what we're going to do is we're going to paint the one side that we're going to see, and we're not going to paint the other side, just to save a little bit of time so you can see the finished product by the end of the video. Now, that's one rail. Now, this piece is 37 inches long, and it took me 30 seconds to do a 3-foot section. And we're going to do the same thing with the other piece. You just get the Q-tip and you just slide it right down the rail, just like that. Now, if you get a little bit of paint on the railroad ties, no big deal, because in real life, you're going to see that anyway. If you get a little bit of paint on the top of the rail, don't sweat it. You can use alcohol, you can use acetone, you could use paint thinner, whatever you want. Or you could use like a green Scotch-Brite pad to get the paint off of the top of the rail. You don't want to leave it there because it will cause conductivity problems when you go to run your trains. Now, I think it looks pretty good. We took 30 seconds or 1 minute, and we have a 3-piece section of track done. The sides of the rails right here are painted like a rust color, so it looks a little bit more realistic. See, there's a little piece of paint there, just kind of rub it off, and you can clean it all when you're done. Now, since this is a Gargraves track, it comes with wooden ties. Now, they make what they call track screws or track nails. I would recommend that you definitely nail your track or screw your track down. I'm sure most everybody does anyway. Since these ties are basically kind of like a balsa wood, they can be a little brittle. So if you're going to put a screw or a nail in, I wouldn't just hammer it right in, because I've done it myself. You could split some of the ties. So right in here, say if you were going to nail your track down and add a screw here, and maybe add another screw right here, and I don't know, say we're going to add another one right here. Get your drill and just drill a little hole through the tie. So when you either use your track screw or your nail and you go through the hole, you're not going to split the tie, because like I said, with Gargraves and Ross, I'm not sure what they use, but this is kind of similar to a balsa wood. It's a little bit heavier than balsa wood, but if you just put a track nail in there and you just hammer it in there, you will split some of the ties. I have. So just get your drill and drill a little hole and feed your screw or your nail through there. So now that we have our track all painted, rub that little piece of paint off. And let's test. Yep. Our roadbed is dry enough. Normally, we would lay our track and screw or nail it down. But since we're kind of on a time limit, so we can get it all done for the video, once again, we're going to use our handy-dandy, trusty spray adhesive. It'll hold it in place for what we need to do. Now, normally, you can add this as an extra protectant or extra help. It'll probably work on straights, but like I said, curved track, you really want to anchor that down really, really good. So if you're going to do that on a curved track, I would highly recommend either screws or nails. You can get them at your local hobby shop. You can get them like at a Home Depot. A lot of times they have them at craft stores as well. So you can get them almost anywhere. They're pretty available no matter where you go. So we're going to add our track and kind of center it in the middle of the roadbed so it looks good. And we'll just kind of hold it down in a few spots. So this way we can, make sure it's anchored really, really well. Okay, so right now everything looks dry enough to proceed. We can go to the ballasting. Now you can use anything you want. You could shake it right out of the bottle. You can spoon it in. You could use a funnel. You can use whatever you want. You're going to laugh, but I use a good old-fashioned watering can for plants. And I'll tell you why. It gives you better control of where you're putting the ballast, because you have a small spout at the end. You don't have a great big spout because you don't want a big wad of ballast all over the place and make a mess. So the only reason I picked this is because it has a small spout at the end and you have better control. So what I do is I just kind of fill up the holes in between the railroad ties. There is no set way. You just kind of go up and down and up and down and up and down. There's no hurry. You just fill it all up. You don't want to overfill it, because then you're going to have to do something with the excess ballast. So just enough to get to the top. Once you think you've got to the top of the railroad ties and you're looking pretty good, then you go to the outside. Now the outside's actually pretty easy. You just take your time. What I do is I get a good flow going, just like here, and I kind of rest it against the rail and kind of keep pouring as you go down, because it'll naturally cover up the outside of the cork roadbed. And if you think you didn't put enough, you can always add some more. It's better to start off a little light, and if you don't think you have enough, add some more. There is no set way of doing it. You do what you're comfortable with and what you think looks good. So, of course, you do this on both sides. And you will slip once or twice, but it's no big deal. There is a way to fix it. Now, this is by no means totally finished. We're going to add a little bit more over here, only because I'm not quite sure I like it quite yet. Okay. Now, it is on top of everything, and it is a little bit of a mess. What you do is you get any kind of clean paintbrush with soft bristles. Now, what I do is just kind of go down the middle to kind of fill up all the holes in the middle of the track. You don't want a whole pile of ballast in there, because your trains are not going to run real well if you have overlapping ballast higher than the rails. So you just kind of go up and down, take your time. It's a piece of art. So, you just kind of go with, what you like, and you make it look good. And you keep going up and down until you get rid of the excess ballast. Like I said, you don't really want it to go above the railroad ties, because it makes a mess. And trains and modern-day electronics do not like rocks. So this is Woodland Scenic's ballast. I used a little bit of gray, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of black. But once again, it's personal taste. You do what you want. Okay, the inside's looking pretty good. Now, what I do for the outside is I get to the outside right here, and you do the same thing you do with the ballast. You kind of glide the paintbrush very easily and very softly. On top of the rails. You can do this more than once. You're not in a hurry, so take your time and make it look good. And right now I'm pretty happy with how we're doing so far. You get a nice natural looking hill on both sides of the track. Now we do the other side. And this kind of brushes it off of the top of the rail. Makes a nice hill on the outside. Let's just go over the inside one more time. This is all going to get sprayed with glue. I usually use Elmer's white glue, or you could use any kind of white glue mixed with water, like 50-50. What I also normally do is a little tiny bit of dish soap, not a lot. If you're making a gallon of glue, you do a couple spoons. That's about it. The reason for that is the oil in the dish soap helps the glue go deeper into your ballast or your scenery. And it just kind of makes it look a little bit better. So right now it's looking pretty good. If you have any mistakes, you want to kind of clean it up or touch it up, you can kind of sweep the rocks back towards the track, refine your hill a little bit, kind of clean it up a little. There's a number of ways to do it. You do what works best for you. What works for me may not work well for you, or likewise. You do it by trial and error. I've changed how I do things several times. I'm redoing a lot of my layout right now. Only because, you get to learn different things, you get different ideas. It depends on what you like to do. And I think all of the changes I've made on the layout so far are looking pretty good. I'm very happy with the progress. I just finished my log loader and sawmill scene. I'm going to be showing that in an upcoming video. And my next project is going to be the amusement park. I'm going to be re-scenicking the amusement park and adding a couple things, but I don't want to say too much about that to let the cat out of the bag early. Okay, now this is what our ballasted track looks like. Like I said, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because in a real train world, it's not absolutely perfect. But with minimal effort and not a lot of time, I think we did pretty good. A piece of Gargrave's track is 37 inches long. So we've glued and ballasted a 37-inch piece of track. We've detailed the sides of the rails so they look rustish like a real railroad track. And we've glued the roadbed, and it's taken only about 15 minutes. So we're doing really, really good with this. But this is how it looks. So now we're going to spray it. Like I said, what I normally do is I use kind of like a 50-50 or maybe even a 60-40, 60 being water, of white glue and just a couple spoons of like dishwashing soap. Like I said, the oil in the soap helps the glue go deeper into the ballast and the rocks and the scenery and whatever you're attempting to glue. And it just makes it stick a little bit better. But don't go overboard with the dish soap. A couple spoons for a gallon, and that's really all you need. So now we're going to get to spraying the ballast with our glue. Okay. When I work on the layout, I usually use a power sprayer, one of those like weed sprayers that you fill up. It has a hold nozzle, and you kind of pump it up a little bit, and it creates pressure. But for today, we're just going to use Scenic Express Scenic Cement with the spray bottle. So what you do is you don't have to go really hard, because if you give it too much and you go too hard with it at first, because keep in mind, these rocks aren't terribly heavy. If you give it too much of a whisk, you're going to be blowing the rocks away, and you don't really want to do that. So you make sure everything's nice and wet. Saturate it pretty good. You don't have to have the stuff swimming, but don't be afraid or don't be cheap with the glue. Give it a good spray, because you want to keep it lasting for years. Honestly, I've had to do a couple touch-ups here and there on my layout, but I originally put my layout up over 20 years ago, and everything is still pretty much intact. I've done some scenery upgrades here and there, and I've done a little touch-up work here and there with the ballast and the grass and the scenery, just to kind of make it looking good and fresh. So you just kind of give it a good coating. Don't worry about the glue on top of the rails. That will go away. I'll show you what to do with that. Just make sure you get your ballast good and wet and you don't miss any spots. Because if you do, after it dries and you run your hand by something or a train or something hits it, you're going to be losing your ballast all over the place. So soak it really, really good, but don't overdo it. Now, what I do from there is get any rag. You could even use a paper towel. And don't press hard and stay away from the ballast. Just glide it on the top of the rails to get the excess glue off of the top of the rail. Because once all of this stuff dries, with the glue residue on top of the rail, your trains are not going to run very well. Even after doing this, if you have any issues, whatever you have, paint thinner, acetone, alcohol, whatever you have to clean, and Scotch-Brite also works very well. And you just kind of play with it a little bit. And as you see, the glue spots that were on top of the railroad ties are all gone. And for the most part, all of the glue from the top of the track is gone. Once you leave this dry, I would recommend at least 24 hours to let it dry. Once you let it dry, you can attempt to clean the top of your rails. But once you get to this point, don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Leave it dry 24 hours before you try and tweak it and spice it up a little bit. Okay, so since we got that far, we'll just kind of leave the ballast alone for right now. We're going to attempt. I would wait longer, but I think we are okay with our rock formation. Now, be very careful when you take it out. Just kind of work it, peel it. We're going to hope nothing goes wrong here. You just kind of work it through and work it through. At that point, you can kind of flip it. Don't be in a big hurry. I have to take a peek and see how we're doing. Just kind of peel it back. Take your time, take your time. There's not a big hurry. Okay, for the most part, we did good. Like I said, I did rush the drying process. This is what our rock formation does look like. I did unfortunately make a little bit of a crack here by taking it off because it's thinner here. Normally you would leave this sit a lot longer to get this really, as they say, rock hard before you try and peel the mold off. But hey, we did okay. Nothing's perfect. And then from there, we're going to do a little decorating onto the formation. Okay, and here we go. I did take it off camera to spray it in the other room. I used flat black and gray primer. You could use whatever colors you want, you know, any kind of earth tones, brown, gray, black, whatever you want. It depends on what type of things you're modeling. I sprayed it with a gray primer, and I just kind of dirtied it up with a little bit of black. And this is what she looks like now. I think it came out pretty good. I said, it's just regular spray paint. You can hand paint it if you want. Like I said, it's your railroad. So, like I said, I just sprayed it with flat gray primer. And I just dirtied it up a little bit here and there with a little bit of black to kind of make it look a little bit more natural. And, you know, you could get different size formations, and you can kind of put them, wherever you want, all over the layout. But for this, we're just kind of set it here. So we can kind of show what to do. I think it'll look better this way. So we'll put it somewhat near our track. That's where it's going to eventually end up, but I'm going to take it off for now, only because we're going to be laying some grass. And although you can add some grass to it, and some bushes, some trees, you know, whatever you want to do, it's fine. You doctor it up, and you make it look good the way you want. So what we're going to do now is I'm basically just going to wipe a little bit, because we have little plaster pieces here and there. Just kind of clean it up and kind of prep it for a little bit of scenery and some grass. Now, what I normally do is, since I'm currently using two different kinds, I'm using fine turf. It's T1345 and 1349. Both are from Woodland Scenics. They're just different colors. I also have this that I use. It comes in a bag like this. It's from JTT Scenery. Just to give it kind of different tones. It's different color grass, and just to give it a little bit of a depth and a variety. Now, what I do is, you don't have to really soak it terribly. Just wet your train board or your tabletop a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Where you're going to put your grass. Only because the grass is very, very light. And if you put it on a dry board and then you go spraying away, what you're going to do, believe it or not, is kind of blow a lot of your grass around. So you don't have to get it soaking wet, just get a little bit of a base. So when you do sprinkle your grass, it has something to kind of stick to. Now, you can do it any way you want. You could do it by hand. You could do it out of the bottle. Once again, it's personal preference and what you're comfortable with. We're just going to go straight from the bottle. And we're going to just give it a little squirt here and there. You don't have to be perfect. You can even pre-paint your table a little bit. Spray it with a little bit of earth tones, if you want to add some earth tones to it. You could even do it after you do your grass, whatever you like. This is your piece of work, and your beauty. So we add our grass. Just kind of sprinkle it around. Just try to keep it off of the train track, though, because, yeah, you know, you do have weeds and train in between rails and stuff in the railroad, and that's fine. You know, I try to kind of keep it, you know, kind of sort of real, but at the same token, I like my stuff to look real good, as I'm sure all of you guys do, and girls as well. Just kind of give it a little spritz here and there. You don't have to squeeze the can terribly. Just give it a little push here and there. Help get the grass out. All right, we're fairly well covered. Now what we're going to do, put a little on the other side, so we make that look good. You know, when you're cooking, you can't just salt and pepper one side. You have to do both sides. So we're going to do the other side as well. Adding our grass. Okay, we have that part of it done. Now I have a slightly different color grass, and I just kind of do a little here and a little there. I prefer to do this by hand, only because it gives you better control. You want to give it a little bit of depth. You don't want a big wad of, one color or another color. So you want to give it a little bit of depth, a little bit of variety. So you just kind of lightly let it flow out of your hand. Once again, don't be in a hurry. It's a piece of work. And I've had pretty good luck with this. And like I said, you do what works best for you. I've changed my technique, so, it just seems to work for me well. And we have that color done. So we're going to put that away. And then I have yet a third. All of these are slightly different tints and colors. Now this comes a little clumpy, so you got to kind of play with it a little bit to let it go down in there. And this is yet another color of grass. So we have basically 3 different colors all blended in. And I think it's coming out really good so far. It looks really good. Just kind of let it kind of rain down. You don't have to do it exact. You just kind of let it rain down and just make it look good. This is your baby. So it's coming out really, really nice. I'm really happy with this. Okay, so I'm pretty comfortable with our grass. Now, this is a rock formation that I kind of started. It's the gray, and I put a little grass on top of it. You could leave it bare. You can do whatever you want. Decorate them however you like. So for now, we can kind of put that one right there on the back of the track. Turn the camera a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. And this is the one that we just made. And this is solid gray. And you could doctor it up with a few different things if you want. What you can do, if you like, is once this is fully hard, you can get a drill and add a tree to it. I have these small trees. I don't know if it'll work. I'm going to try. Okay, I did make it work. I would recommend you let this dry completely before you mess with it. I did get a screwdriver and put a little hole here and a little hole here, very carefully not to crack the rock formation. And I added 2 little trees. You don't have to add trees. You decorate it with how you like. So what I'm going to do from there is actually on top of that, I'm just going to add a little bit of grass just to kind of make a change just a little bit. You don't have to load it, fully with grass, like a lawn or anything, but just to kind of make it look a little bit more real. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. So that looks good. So we have our 2 rock formations, one in the back, one in the front. This one has trees. We're going to leave that tree there because he is cooperating, so we're just going to leave it alone. Okay, and I do have what they call like clump foliage. You can kind of add a couple, if you want to sprinkle, because if you're going to have a little bit of a country scene, you want to kind of sprinkle it around a little bit, just to kind of add a little bit of flavor. Or if you want to put a little bit of a clump, along the side of the tracks, you make it look good. There's no, like I said, there's no right or wrong way. So we're just going to sprinkle a little here and a little there, just to give it a little bit of, variety, just to kind of make it look good. And we'll put a little along the front here to make it look a little bit realistic. But you don't have to add this. You do whatever you think is right or whatever you like. I do things differently on different parts of the layout. Sometimes I have rocks, sometimes I have bushes, sometimes I have trees, sometimes I have everything. It's all personal taste on what you like. So we just add a little here, a little there, and I'm happy with that. Now, basically, when you get your ground cover done, give it a very light coating of the glue again with your spray bottle. You don't have to go crazy because don't forget we have glue on the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to glue. Now it is going to look a little white from the glue. That color will go away when it dries. You just kind of spray around because, if you touch it, you don't want your grass kind of like all flying all over the place. So if you give it a little bit of a base on the bottom, you can spray or lay down the grass pretty good, and it won't fly around. And it's going to have a little bit of glue on the bottom, and we're going to put a little bit of glue on the top. You could do it twice if you need to. You do whatever looks good. I think we're okay with that. Okay. So once your ground cover is all done, like I said, I recommend at least 24 hours for it to dry. Don't be in a hurry. Leave everything the way it is. Leave everything dry. And then, of course, the next day you can go back and add different things as you see fit. Now I have another one of these trees. I'm actually going to take these eventually off of here and use them on my layout. And normally you would drill a hole through the table, but since we're using a ceiling tile for this diorama, it's pretty soft and you just can kind of poke it through. So we're going to carefully get our tree. Just kind of work it through and poke it through. And there's our tree. We have, I believe these are called cattails. They're kind of like weeds. You can put a couple of them in there. Add a couple of them. Just kind of ruffle it up a little bit to make it look good. Then we have a couple of these. They're called tufts. Like I said, wait till this is dry, but for this video, we're going to put it on right now anyway, because it does come with a little bit of a glue on the adhesive on the back. And, you just kind of stick them wherever you like. We're going to put one there by the rail. Put another one over here by the rail. But like I said, wait until your grass properly dries so you can add them without ripping up your grass. You just basically, decorate it the way you like. And I think it's going real well. Add one or two back here. Okay. As far as detailing, you can do whatever you want. I have some extra fence that I used around my log loader and sawmill. Once again, normally you would drill a hole. because you have a little wire here and a little wire here. You would drill a little tiny hole and just feed that through the wire. But since we're on a piece of ceiling tile, carefully, we can kind of, I think, poke it through, and you could add a piece of fence. You know, if you like. You don't have to. You do what, you know, you like to make it look good. Then, of course, I did pick up a couple deer. You would, of course, glue these down, but, well, this deer is going to be taking a rest. Hopefully this guy will stand up. There we go. This is a baby deer feeding. So we were able to add some deer. And you just add whatever you like. You could add animals, you can add different sceneries, you can add people. On one side of my layout, I have a banjo band. I did a rock formation similar to this, and I have the guys up on a hill playing banjos. So you can basically do whatever you want. You know, it's your layout. Let's see if we can get this deer to kind of, there we go. She's taking a rest there against the hill. And here's a little bit of a close-up of the work we did. I'm going to let it dry overnight, and you can clean it up around the track rails when you're done. But this is how our ballasted track looks. I think we did really well. Then over here, we have the tree with some weeds. We have a rock formation in the back. Then we come around to the front, and we have this rock formation with some bushes. We have a deer taking a nap. Over here I put a small piece of fence with some more deer. And this is how it looks. I think it came out really well. You can see the railroad track where you have the painted side, so it looks rustish. Sometimes the glue lightens it up again a little bit. Once it's all done, looks like the front lightened up a little bit, but the back is okay. Over here, this is lightened up. That's still dark. After everything dries, you can go over it again with the Q-tip and the paint. But if we pull back a little bit, this is how our scene turned out. And this is actually on the top of 2 ceiling tiles that are taped together. But we have, you know, our grass and our track. And of course you add your buildings, your street lights, whatever else you want to add to your layout. But this is basically the scenery technique I use. I do change it, though, depending on what area of the town I'm doing. But I think we did really, really well. And I'm very happy. I hope this tutorial was able to give you guys some ideas, some help, and ideas on, you know, how I do it. Like I said, you could change it up and do what's easy for you. But I think we did real well, and it came out really good. And this really doesn't take a lot of time. Like I said, the key is do not rush. Take your time. You know, a rush job, sometimes you have to go over again. Take your time and think of how you want to do things. You might want to change your idea midstream, but this is how we ended up, and I'm very happy with it. I think it came out really well, and I hope you guys like it too. Thanks for watching today's video. They're always a lot of fun to do, and this one was a little bit different. But it's what you guys had asked for, so that's you know, what's fun about doing all of this. If it wasn't for your support, I wouldn't have a channel. So I try to do whatever I can to please all the people all the time. Whether I make it or not is okay, but I try. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on some of my scenery techniques. You could take something from that. You can do what you like. You could do a little of each. You do whatever works best for you. As usual, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything in the future. As usual, I welcome all comments. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, honestly, it's where I get some of my ideas to do the videos. So with your guys' help, we can make this a really good channel. So please feel free to leave a comment. If you liked what you saw, leave a thumbs up. Also, you can visit my Instagram page at Bob's O-Gauge Trains on Instagram. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on scenery and seeing the trains run. Everybody take care of yourself. Be safe.